ASOTU CON.
This is Auto Collabs.
Michael, now when he sneezes, it sounds like ASOTU CON. I mean, it's only December, but we are thinking about it. That's the and today's guest, actually, we're hoping we can get to come to ASOTU CON because he's like everywhere I see him, he's totally a ball of energy, right? Like he's one of those people I'm like, where does that come from on a regular basis? It's like feels inexhaustible. We're talking about Alan Brown, by the way.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about me. It's fine.
No, I said a little ball.
I've only experienced Alan
period, right?
via social media. And the minute, like, it was like the third post I saw from him and just the way he engaged his employees and the community and things like that, I immediately hit the ASOTU team. I was like, who knows Alan that can get him on a podcast tomorrow? And
I'm trying to remember now. Where did I meet him?
I'm going to say a David Kane event.
you might have met him.
Oh, that is where it was.
Yeah.
There you go.
That is where it was.
One of the things that always impresses me about him is, to your point, he is infectious energy in a good way, right? Like he just sits there and says nothing and people are drawn to him.
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
What I mean?
One of those broad smiles ready to go.
Maybe we just need to get a portrait of him. Like a hand-painted portrait of him in like one of his suits with the smile and the hair and the energy and all that. Well, regardless, we hope that we can bring you some of that Alan Brown energy in this interview on Auto Collabs. Alan, it is so exciting to be with you. You not only have the best suits, the best smile, the best Southern accent in the automotive industry, but you're hanging out with two of the three best people in the industry. I'll let you pick who those are.
Oh, man. Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me and excited to spend some time with you guys today.
Oh, man. Thank you again. Okay. So you are someone that first came across my personal radar when you were talking about these amazing team meetings that you have. And I know some people have heard about these in the industry, but we need more people to hear about them. Could you just give us like the Cliff's Notes on the special meetings that you have that have been really impactful?
Yeah, happy to. So we celebrate our employees once a month, every single month, the first Friday at 2:00. If you want to join, please, we have the factory show, GM financial shows, GM accessories. We just have a really neat gathering. And what it is our employees coming together for us as a team to celebrate them. We get in one big circle inside the shop on this first Friday, and I literally have every data point. And we start with birthdays and anniversaries. And I do a handwritten card, put $20 in it, and we acknowledge those birthdays and anniversaries for that new month that we're walking into together. Then the next page is going to be top performers of the previous month, sales, BDC, our KBB buying team, because we're obviously buying cars through KBB and private party, more so than going to auction, which is a whole different segment, right? But we go through all of these departments. And then one really neat one in this is I got some feedback from the techs going, tech of the month it's this guy or that guy pretty consistently, right? Mm-hmm. So we started a tech of the month that is voted on by all the techs. So all the techs go into this electronic deal and they vote on the guy that had the best attitude, willingness to help another guy, the cleanest stall, just all these data points that they do on this electronic survey. So that's one of the topics as well, or honorees. So we've got this huge blackjack wheel. And this blackjack wheel, 17 pays 100, 18 pays 150, 20 pays 200, and 21 pays 500. And so I have my assistant controller card table, and we've got cash. And so when the porter hits, when the check hits, we call it Baptist Church at the Chevrolet store. I mean, they erupt, they're having a hoot. It's a ton of fun. There's high-fiving going on. So I've done this for years. I did it when I was a Volkswagen dealer, and obviously I carried it forward in this store for the last 4 years. But someone turned this into automotive news, and automotive news did a big article on it. They came out. And when they came out, it just so happened, it just lined up this way. I had the high school marching band from at the pep rally.
Crazy coincidence.
So when people are walking in, there is a marching band lined up. You think you're back in high school football. And I mean, it just makes the little hair stand up, get you all fired up.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's just a ton of fun. But that article's out there, with us, and you can read about that. You can join us.
So does the marching band come back every month now?
Oh, sure.
We try to do unique stuff around high school. When football season's in. The other thing that we do is 12 o'clock. Everybody knows, especially for any dignitaries that's coming to visit. We do a really, really nice lunch that 12 o'clock that Friday of. So it's lunch, it's community feel, and then it's all of us coming together. This pep rally takes about 20 minutes. The other thing that's neat about it is after I get through honoring what happened in the previous month, then I go into what was our objective last month and how did we stack up against forecast, right? So everybody knows every number. And then the last thing I talk about is what is the forecast of the month that we're standing in right now? What is our goals? What is it going to take? What does it look like for each of us? Because we can't have a bad day that turns into a bad week and a bad week that turns into a bad month, right? And a lot of that's right between the ears. So, hey, if you're having a bad day, come find one of us because we don't want a bad day to turn into a bad week. It's kind of that.
That is such a great piece of wisdom right there, because that is, like you're saying that, I'm like, that is definitely how it goes, right?
This is a game of mental toughness. And to get mentally tough, you've got to have.
I'm just going to sit here like this the rest of the show. I'm just going to let you
Yeah,
go.
you just give it to us, okay? Sounds good.
You've got to have mentorship, right? You've got to have mentorship to gain mental toughness and a pilot's feel for the business. And so that takes all of us. And so we share that type of stuff. And then the last thing we do in this big circle, if you can imagine it, is we literally go around the room to any dignitary that's visiting us, any manager, any leader from finance department, service, parts, all that good stuff, and they get a moment to speak. GM Financial will talk about, hey guys, don't forget, you've got this program out there, 2.9 on trucks or whatever. And so everybody gets a moment to kind of share their piece of it, regardless of what their piece is. And so for me, what's cool is whether you're a porter or a general sales manager, you know everything. And, when you talk about speed and accuracy of culture, when you talk about growing your business, 9 times out of 10, it's removing the barriers of bad communication or the lack of communication. If we remove that and we eliminate turnover because we love people more than we love cars, hey, plug for you. You know what I mean? Then guess what? Our business is going to grow. The difference between a great dealer and an average dealer, do you have the tenacity and the mental and physical fortitude to hold the line with doing the right thing when it comes to people and culture? That's all I got for you.
That's it.
That's
okay. See you guys later.
We'll see you. It's been a great show.
Alan,
Look,
I gotta ask you this because there's still so much conversation about 30-day cycles, the revenue, the units sold, the pacing, the leads, the opportunities. How do you map what is clearly the infinite game that you're playing? How do you map that to those business outcomes? What do you say to dealers that can't perhaps break out of that let's call it a limiting mindset? And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but just that's the way the industry has been taught. And you're clearly thinking about this business on a different plane.
Yeah. I think the very first tough question that a dealer or a leader needs to ask himself in the car business, and I want you to hear this very carefully. Would you work for you? I'm gonna say it again. Would you work for you? I had some mentors early in my career that helped me understand this and see this, right? Because we know that pay, if you look at how people digest their career, pay is number 6, number 7 in the top 10 reasons on why I'm hooked up here. Why this is what I call my career and what I call home. So, are you inspiring? Are you growing? Well, the key to that is, are you inspiring and growing in difficult times? The auto industry, look, it's fluid, it's constantly changing, it's frustrating, it's scary, it's worrisome. And so, how do you lead through that? And that's the art of leadership, right? You've got to make sure that you separate the financial number piece and the human element. They are two totally different reports, they're two totally different graphs. And so, how do you stay calm? You stay calm by your team together launching a good forecast. And then you stay calm by being in your numbers every single day. I spend, and this could be a whole nother podcast show with you guys, but I do a book every single day. You literally could ask me what was December 2 years ago, and I could pull every stat of everything. So, what it allows me to do as a leader is practice what I preach. It allows me to stay very calm and very calculated because I'm seeing a trend from one day to the next. Not I got to month in and oh, what happened here?
What happened?
Right? And I think
I want to go back real quick because you said like the pay plan or that pay is not the leading driver
no,
to career path and or even like the activity within a day to day. There's this relationship to the day to day activity that you're pointing to, which is that making sure you understand when you're at, you understand the data. But the narrative, the prevailing narrative in auto is like pay plan drives behavior,
it does.
right? And so I like talk to that how there's both truth and like falsity in that, because I think you're painting a narrative that says that yes, responding to the data, understanding what gets you there in the end, the business outcome does drive behavior, but also at the same point, you're saying no, there's this culture, there's this human behavior element that can supersede the drive toward a financial outcome.
That's right. Well, first of all, you do have to have good pay plans. You do have to have pay plans that stretch people, but also you got to have pay plan that somebody can look at and say, I can get there. I can kill this. Right? That's when we function the best in the car business, is when we see and believe in what we've been given as a roadmap to financial success. Then the rest of it is making deposits, positive deposits in them every single day that encourage them and equip them and remove the barriers so they can go run. Now, here's the other side of it. If you interview any of my managers, and you're welcome to do this, you can call any employee that you want to at any time and ask them any question about any of this. I encourage you to do that. Number one. Number two, when I make that kind of deposits, when our team is making that kind of deposits on each other, I can make a withdrawal every now and then. And
Right.
when I make a withdrawal, when I make a coaching moment withdrawal from somebody, it has tremendous impact because it's very rare that I get frustrated or angry or assertive, but when I do, you can sell tickets to it. And I think it resonates differently,
He said, when you do, I can sell tickets to it. Let's go. Okay. I gotta ask this because like this doesn't come out of nowhere. And I don't know if anybody can hear listening, but I would describe you as somewhat of a passionate person. Maybe.
Somewhat. Somewhat.
Just a wee bit. Where does that like who did that come from? Where did that come from in your career? Or who was the guiding force that led to this type of intentional leadership as you grew in your career? Because
Yeah.
it didn't just like pop out of nowhere.
So, I first, I came from, blue collar upbringing, humble beginnings. My dad was a police officer. My grandfather worked for Ford Motor Company. He was actually the last guy to close the doors at the Ford plant in whenever that was, 69,
Oh,
70.
wow.
Dallas.
Wow.
And he saw an ad in the paper for a car wash position. And that's where I spent the first 27 years of my business life, and ended up partnering in 3 VW stores with the Beck Automotive Group. And, I got very, very lucky that I had, first of all, love for the industry. I had love for cars, and my grandfather could see that because I was always tinkering and messing with stuff as a young adult coming out of high school. And then, my mentor growing up was Jerry Reynolds. The guy with the Car Pro Show. He was a sales manager at the time, and he poured into me, and he saw a lot of stuff in me. And I got a funny story for you. It's a good Texas story, but I'm 19 years old. I'm about 115 pounds soaking wet, and we're on a repo. I got the key. I'm the legs. I'm the runner, and we're in a single part of town, and we're in an apartment complex, and we're waiting for the car to show up. It's me and Jerry and a 357 between us in a Crown Victoria because that was his demo. And he looked, and he always has a cigar. He looked at me, and he pulled out a cigar, and he goes, "Man," he goes, "you're awful calm. What's your story?" And that's where I shared with him I wanted to be a police officer because that was my dad, and that's what I had to look up to. And he had a conversation with me about being a police officer and his partner getting killed, and a lot of people don't know that. And he right then started challenging me and asking me questions and mentorship that kept me in the industry, launched my career, and because of that, I am in the industry and been able to do what I've been able to do today. And so, from my perspective, I owe that. I owe that back every single day.
Wow.
So that's where my pace, that's where my excitement, that's where my zeal comes from, is because of what one person's kindness was. And that's why we've got to make those same deposits as leaders today. Because how many future general managers could we be building? How many future service managers could we be building with a little encouragement?
Right. I think Cirillo has a man crush on you, is what it looks like to me.
There's so many things.
I've never heard him this quiet for this long.
No, because there's so many things. I'm just observing. One of the things that I can't stand are posers. But when I find someone who's not a poser, who's like legit, I'm just like, keep talking.
Yeah.
Will you come and read me to sleep at night?
Bedtime stories with Alan
and then
Brown.
I'm just, there's a couple of things. Not only, you brought this up earlier, Paul. He's a trendsetter with the suits and the pocket squares and just being put together. But I don't know if you guys have picked up on this. Alan, you are such a trendsetter. I don't know if you know this about yourself. You are such a trendsetter that your real office is the same backdrop that people use for green screen all throughout the industry.
It does. It's perfectly framed.
It's just framed.
Perfect.
It really
Well, you
is.
gotta have fun, right? You gotta have your personality out there, and
I don't think you knew you were office famous.
yeah, I think it's a little bit of the old VW, blood still in me. When we were really rocking, we wore tie-dye t-shirts, and we had Jimi Hendrix posters on the wall and
Bandanas.
Oh,
Yeah.
my whole intro used to be, "Hey, I'm Alan Brown. I'm one of the partners here, and nobody's going to power close you in a tie-dye t-shirt today." And if they did, you wouldn't tell anybody about it. So you just need to let me know what you need.
I got to bring that marketing theme back. That's strong right there.
No, but I'm telling you right now, Alan, you could just, if you remove yourself from the frame, we took a screenshot. We could sell your office as a green screen backdrop that I'm sure, I swear I've seen this. Other people are using your office.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
That's unbelievable.
We try to have
That's
fun, try to have fun.
I think
love
that I think of what you said about needing to make a withdrawal. I've thought about this in terms of, I call it relational equity. Um, and I think of how many interactions a general manager, sales manager has every single day where they have the opportunity to either keep walking on wherever they were heading or whatever they're thinking about, or little by little just make deposits, as you call them, throughout the day. And the difference that actually adds up to over the course of a week, of a month, of 6 months, that when there is something, like we said, when there's like a coaching moment or a moment that you have a full account. And so like that is constantly in my mind. And it's like kind of convicting me on all the times I don't take the opportunity to do that because I'm busy with important things,
Sure. Oh yeah, and this is something I also learned as a baby general manager. You know, and it's interesting when you really look at this. But if you think back, how many general managers do you know that lost their deal, lost their job, and they were taking turns every single day? A wayward customer on the drive. Hey, they're walking by a salesperson that's struggling for one reason or another. That general manager took turns every day. Do you recall them losing their job? Most all the general managers I know that have lost their job lost their way because they stopped doing what made them uber successful, which is living and taking turns, right? And so when you take a turn, what that does for your culture is unbelievable because you expose yourself. And what I found in talking to different guys throughout the years, the number one reason that a lot of general managers don't take turns anymore is fear of failing in front of the people they lead.
Mm.
Be fearless. Don't be afraid of failing. When you fail in front of your people trying the same word track that you teach in the 12 o'clock meeting, guess what? All of a sudden they get behind you differently. They look at you as a
I've
leader.
run through brick walls. Yep.
And so don't be afraid of taking turns on the fly every single day. That is a big piece of culture.
I love it. I love it. Hey, Alan, we could probably ask 33 more questions
Easy.
and squeeze all of the
Easy.
juice out of them. But the time has come today. Alan, it has been a pleasure. I know that we'll be hearing and seeing more from you in the ASOTU community. But on behalf of myself, Paul, and Michael, thanks for joining us here on Auto Collabs.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Well,
I looked
have
over
notes.
and I saw Cirillo. For those just listening, I saw Cirillo. He had this little cheeky grin. His face was slightly tilted
This is
to
such
one
a true
side,
story, by the way.
and he had those little rose-colored eyes.
Yes.
Just, you might as well put him at sophomore year.
The little heart coming up from behind
Bro.
him. The
This dude
iPhone
speaks
picked
my
it up.
language. Well, first I was smiling because every time Paul accidentally does a thumbs up, it pops up on his screen, but then he freezes for about. Yeah,
There you go. Here we go. We're gonna freeze. There it is.
Hey,
freeze
the
frame.
freeze. So that made me. But then I was really getting dialed into what Alan was saying, and I'm just like, dude, this is my kind of guy right here. This guy is the retail auto industry that we know and love.
Man.
Well, and we didn't really dig into it, but and he was leaning into it. But what happens when you expose the business outcomes across the departments to the entire store is galvanizing for a store. Like, I know what's up there. I know what's up there. They succeeded. They have opportunities. They succeeded. I helped them succeed. They helped me succeed. You start to galvanize everyone from the newest employee to the longest lasting employee to each other to say, yep, we all are connected in the business outcomes of this thing.
Truth. And very rarely do you find somebody who is so in tune with every department in their store. Like, he's in tune from the numbers to what's going on in the technician's life. And that is something that only comes, like what he was talking about, like making the regular deposits in the accounts, like talking about relational equity or whatever he called it. I call it relational equity. But I don't even know what else to say. It's like there's simple things.
It's like that question right there. I was like, huh. Well, like, would you work for you? It's clear he shows up every day asking himself that question. And that dictates his answer to himself, dictates how he treats the people that are on his team. Right. through the thick and thin. He wants to maintain consistency, that calm. He said, like, I love that he used the word calm. How often do we hear the word calm when somebody's talking
And
about
auto industry,
the auto industry? Yeah.
never. That's probably the first time.
Hey, listen, we hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm Michael Cirillo here with Paul J Daly and Kyle Mountsier. Thanks so much for joining us on Auto Collabs.
Welcome to Auto Collabs. Why are we recording?
Are we rolling yet?